All right, let's take a look at question number 4. There are 3x minus 2 trees planted in each row of a rectangular parcel of land. If there are a total of 24x minus 16 trees planted in the parcel, how many rows of trees are there in the parcel? All right, so there's a lot going on in this question, and when you look at questions like this, the first thing you always want to do is read the question once, have an idea of what's going on, and then attack the question again. All right. Now, something else that I advise you to do when you're looking at questions, especially when you're studying on your own, is if you read through and you see something that you don't understand. For example, I'm looking at the word parcel here. Maybe you don't know what a parcel is. So you have this thing called the internet. Get in the habit of when you see a word that you don't know what it means, look it up. So if you don't know what parcel means, let's look it up. So I have Google up here. Let's look up what parcel means. All right. So I type in parcel, and I look and it says a thing or collection of things wrapped in paper in order to be carried or sent by mail, or a quantity or amount of something, especially as dealt within one commercial transaction. Okay, that doesn't fit what's going on here, because we're talking about here a parcel, something related to land. So what if I type in parcel of land? Okay, so notice here I'm typing parcel of land. Now it says in real estate, a lot or plot is a tract or parcel of land owned or meant to be owned by some owner. A lot is essentially considered a parcel of real property in some countries, or movable property, meaning practically the same thing in other countries. Okay, so this kind of gives me an idea. Parcel is just a piece of land. Okay, so if you don't, when you read, you don't know what something is, get in the habit of looking it up. I can't stress how useful this is, how this helps you to grow your vocabulary, as well as just makes you understand what you're reading that much more. Okay, so we know what a parcel is, a parcel of land. All right, now I'm going to go back through here, and I'm going to try to figure out why this question is giving me a little bit of a problem here. Okay, so there are 3x minus 2 trees planted in each row of a rectangular parcel of land. If there are a total of 24x minus 16 trees planted in the parcel, how many rows of trees are there in the parcel? Okay, so the general trend that I've been doing thus far is I've been solving these problems the quote-unquote math way. In this question, though, I really do think that your intuition will drive the math way. So I'm going to do this in reverse. I'm going to use the strategy first to solve this problem, and then I'm going to show you how to solve it the math way. Okay, so the big issue in this question is that they're not talking about things in terms of numbers, right? They're talking about things, we're talking about 3x minus 2 trees and 24x minus 16 a total of 24x minus 16 trees, right? Who talks like that? I mean, it's like if you ask me, how much do I weigh? I say I weigh 24x minus 2 pounds. How much money do you make a year? 3x plus 7. We don't talk that way. How much does a cup of coffee cost? 2x plus 7. No one really talks that way. So when you see math problems written this way, it becomes your intuition is not working. It's hard to drive your intuition, and your intuition is usually the key to solving a lot of these types of math problems. So let's drive our intuition. Let's attack this problem by, instead of talking about 3x minus 2 and 24x minus 16, let's talk about it in terms of actual numbers. Okay? So what I'm going to do is use one of the strategies, right? And so one of the strategies we say is just plug in a number. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in a value for x when I attack this. Okay? Now the number I'm going to plug in for x, when you do use this strategy, the number I'm going to plug in for x is, I'm going to avoid using 0 and 1. And the reason why I'm going to avoid using 0 and 1 is they have 0 and 1 have special properties, right? 0 times any number is 0, and 1 times any number is the number. Okay? And this tends to lead to some problems. So I'm going to avoid that, and instead I'm going to plug in another number. Now when I plug in this other number, I also want to avoid using numbers in the problem. Again, the reason why is it can lead to getting 0 or 1, and that leads to problems with our answer choices. Okay? So do not plug in 0, 1, and numbers in the problem. Okay? So this is our next strategy, our next rule. Do not plug in 0, 1 numbers in the problem. This is not a good idea, okay? All right, so what am I going to plug in? Well, I can't plug in 3, I can't plug in 2, I can't plug in 0, I can't plug in 1, so I'm going to plug in the next smallest number, which is 4. So we're going to say x equals 4. I'm going to work through it. So if I work through it, I'm going to get 3 times 4 minus 2 for 3x minus 2. And then the other one's going to be for 24x minus 16. I'm going to plug in 4. And I'm going to solve. All right? So let's do this. So 3 times 4 is 12. 12 minus 2 is 10. 24 times 4 is going to give me 96. 96 minus 16 is 80. Okay? If you struggle with doing calculations like this, keep in the back of your head the fact that you will have a calculator, and a lot of these types of problems you can solve using the calculator. It's not too difficult to use their calculator. You type in 24 times 4, get 96, and subtract 16. Okay, so the TSI does give you a calculator. The calculator basically is a 4-function calculator. What I mean by that is that it basically can do add, subtract, multiply, and divide, not much else. Okay, certain problems will allow you to do square roots, but really just add, subtract, multiply, and divide. All right, cool. So I have 10 and 80. Now let's look at the question with 10 and 80. So there are, instead of 23x minus 2, we're going to say there are 10 trees planted in each row of a rectangular parcel of land. If there are a total of 24x, we're going to say there are a total of 80 trees planted in the parcel. How many rows of trees are there in the parcel? Okay, so if I have a total of 80 trees and I plant 10 in each row, what's the answer? I think it's pretty intuitive that we get 8, right? 80 divided by 10. Whenever you're asked how much of one thing goes into another, you divide. 80 divided by 10 gives me 8. Okay? So I look at my answer choices and I see 21x minus 18, 21x minus 14, 8x, and 8. And I see 8, so I should just circle 8, right? No. This is the thing you have to make sure you do. When you get your answer, you have to plug in your original value of x, which is 4, into each of these to see if you end up getting 8 for any of these. Because if I get 8 for any of these values along with d, then I have to do this problem all over again. I'll just plug in another number. I'll plug in 5. If that doesn't work, I'll plug in 6, and I'll just work my way through. Okay? This is really important. You cannot just, once you get an answer, you can't just circle it. You need to work through everything. Okay? So the nice thing is that this is not too bad. It's pretty obvious that 8 is actually going to be the answer, because if I look at 21 times 4, 21 times 4 is 84. 84 minus 18, there's no way 84 minus 18 is 8, right? Excuse me. Same thing with this. There's no way 84 minus 14 is going to be 8. And there's no way 8 times 4 is going to give me 8, right? It's 32. So the only one then that works is 8, but I still have to work through every single one, okay? The nice thing about this is once you see this, what I did to solve this problem pretty much is exactly what you'd have to do to solve it. So if we look at it, what I'm actually doing here is, remember 80 is actually just 24x minus 16. So if I write this as 24x minus 16 divided by the other value, which is 3x minus 2, which was 10, right? If I divide this, if I can solve this, I'll get the correct answer. Now, one thing I want to stress, you cannot go through and say 24 divided by 3 gives me 8, and 16 minus 2 is 8, and write this out as 8x minus 8. You can't do that, okay? That doesn't work. And a nice little way to see that that doesn't work is if I go through and I say 10 minus 2 and do 5 minus 2, this gives me 8 over 3, right? I can't go through and say that 10 divided by 5 is 2 and 2 divided by 2 is 1 and say 2 minus 1 is 1, right? 8 over thirds does not equal to 1. So you can't just go through with, whenever you see subtraction, and just divide straight like we can with this multiplication problem. So keep that in mind. This method does not work. You can't do it, okay? What I can do is if I can convert this into a multiplication problem, I can cancel things out. So when you see this, and this is something that you see a lot on the TSI, so please make sure you are catching this, you want to ask yourself, do these guys share a common factor? And saying share a common factor means, are they divisible by a particular number? Okay, and the answer is yes, they are both divisible by 8. Okay, if you didn't see that they were divisible by 8, my suggestion to you is you really need to study your multiplication tables. And it sounds silly, but a lot of students really do not know their multiplication tables. And once you get into the realm of factoring, if you don't automatically can't see that both these numbers are divisible by 8, you're going to struggle in math for the rest of your life. Learn it. It's important. You need to put it into your mind. All right, so I'm going to factor out an 8, okay? Again, what did I mean when I say factor out 8? I just mean 24 divided by 8 is what? It's 3. 16 divided by 8 is what? It's 2. So this is just 3x minus 2. Oh, look what's on the bottom. 3x minus 2. Okay? So 3x minus 2 on the top and 3x minus 2 on the bottom. Since they match, I can cancel them out. So then you're like, oh, Mr. Anderson, but I don't understand. That doesn't make sense to me. Because when I looked over here, you said I can't divide 10 divided by 5 and 2 divided by 2. Why can't I can't do that? But now you're saying it's okay for me to cancel out. Why is it okay to cancel out here, but here it's not? Well, one way I can test this is by using the same numbers and saying it's multiplication. Let's see here, 10 times 2 and 5 times 2. What happens if I can cancel these 2's out, and I would get 10 over 5, which is 2. And I can also say 10 times 2 is 20, and 5 times 2 is 10, and 20 divided by 10 is also 2. So one way is you could test it with a number and see if it works, and it does. So while this isn't a proof, it does lead the intuition to think that it's legit. It's okay to do this. But the other thing is that multiplication and division are the same property. So when I multiply, all I'm really doing here is really rewriting this. I'm really saying this is 8 times 3x minus 2 times 1 over 3x minus 2. Okay? So I am still just multiplying through, and hence it's a legit process. Okay? So when you multiply, it's okay to cancel things out, but when you add or subtract, you can't. So it's because I've changed this cancels out, I'm left with 8, and that's the answer. Okay? My advice to you is re-watch this video. Factoring is a big part on the TSI, so you need to make sure you're comfortable with this. Okay? One last point here before I go, and this is important. You may see a question on the TSI in regards to this. Okay? If you are mathematically inclined, this bothers you when I divide this, okay? What I really have to state here is that this is true insofar as I don't have 0 in the denominator. Because if I have 0 in the denominator, you cannot divide by 0. Any number over 0 is undefined, okay? And, well, that's not 100% true, but for the most part, almost any number divided by 0 is undefined. If you have 0 over 0, it's actually called indeterminate, okay? But almost any number divided by 0 is undefined, okay? If you have trouble memorizing that, and you should know that, just remember when 0 is under, it's undefined. So 0 is under, it's undefined, okay? So if this question was to be 100% legit, this question really should say, as long as 3x minus 2 does not equal to 0, because you can't divide by 0. So if I solve this, if I add 2 to both sides, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little smashed here, divide by 3, I get x equals 2 over 3. So insofar as x does not, and I'll draw a little line here to indicate, is not equal 2 over 3, this process is okay. Okay? There may be questions on the TSI that talk about this. So if they say, when is the domain restricted? For what values does the domain not work? You can't divide by 0. Keep that in mind. Okay, this was a pretty long video. I'm going to stop here. Hopefully this helped you guys out. Leave me some comments. Let me know if I can make this a little clearer for you. All right, see you in the next video.